Yeah, okay. So welcome everyone to the EASEE-gas and EASEE-gas workshop about storage and LNG system operation. Welcome everyone in the room and to our virtual participants. We have for some rules in the beginning. Please, if you want, please unmute yourself and also deactivate the camera. That helps at least for the record. And if there are any questions you already have during the presentations, please wait until the end of each presentation, and then we will have a look into questions after each session, and we will also have a Q&A session in the end. So if you think that your question can wait, you can also ask it in the end of after all presentations. So I suggest to start. I will do the first part, so the introduction to the association EASEE-gas and the EASEE-gas working group. So my name is Oliver Schirock. I'm working for BNG since 2009, so we are a trader and shipper. And I also chair the message and workflow design working group, so also the EASEE-gas working group called, since 2022. And yeah, I will guide you through this workshop, and then next is the agenda. So for today's agenda, I will have a slight introduction to, as I said, to the association EASEE-gas. What is EASEE-gas? What are they doing? And about our working group. And then we will have several business topics or several sessions for the customer requirements and for different processes and messages. And there, if you are aware, there are several types for inventory, for capacity, for the transfer. And we will also have a small session about the LNG business process, what is there and which messages could fit, or what we design for this system operation process. And then in the end, we go for this Q&A session. Okay, Marius. EASEE-gas is a quite technical association. It was founded in 2002 and has more than 80 European members. And the main goal is harmonization and, of course, these solutions for the simplification and streamlining of trading and physical transfer of gas. EASEE-gas represents the entire gas value chain. So as you can see here, there are several roles we have on our members. So mainly transmission system operators, traders and shippers, but we also have storage system operators, LNG system operators, DSOs, end users, suppliers, so and producers. So we cover, as EASEE-gas, cover the whole gas value chain. Okay, so what you can see here is that we have also different categories of membership. So we have full members, and we also have another category for the service providers, for example, so where you don't have voting rights, but still you can access all the meetings and all the data you get. What you can see here, that we have a slight focus on the TSOs and traders and shippers, so that's the majority of our members. But as you can also see, there are more than a lot of suppliers and service providers involved. So here you can see where the EASEE-gas members come from. So we have a slight focus on Middle and Western Europe, but also Southern Europe. And of course, there are still some parts where EASEE-gas needs a bit improvement to get more members. But yeah, so at least we are in big parts of Europe, EASEE-gas is present. So you can see the organizational structure of EASEE-gas. So we have annual members meeting, the GMOM, General Meeting of Members. And we have the board, of course, so supported by the secretariat and the coordination committee. We have an advisory panel where external associations like EFET or Energy Traders Europe, sorry, or NSOC and others are present. And of course, we have 3 working groups. So as you can see, we have the Technology Standards Working Group, and they care about mainly the protocols, so the way that data is transferred. We have the Gas Quality Harmonization Working Group. Yeah, I think the name speaks for itself. And we have our Message and Workflow Design Working Group. As I said, it's quite a long term, so we call it the EASEE-gas Working Group. And that's our working group. And next slide will show who we are. So as you can see, we have a lot of members from all over Europe in our working group. And this is just a picture to show, okay, there are many people there and there's a lot of contribution. Next slide. So here you can see which members are there in our working group. So we also have all the roles. So we have traders and shippers, we have the TSOs, we have service providers, we have SSOs. We also have members that have or hosting LNG terminals. And we also have members like ECC, for example. So that's the clearinghouse of the energy exchange. Yeah, and as I said, some service providers also to get the full picture. And we also have, sorry to interrupt this, we also have the platforms. So as you can see, Prisma is a member of our working group. So for example, the capacity platforms are all involved in our working group. So what you can see here, just for your information, is our meeting schedule. So we have 8 physical meetings a year. These meetings are all hybrid, so that everybody that wants to contribute can connect and stay in touch. And we will also have this joint workshop together with the NSOC and GIE as EASEE-gas. So also check out the dates when the invitation comes from the NSOC invitation for the 29th and 30th of October. There will be 2-day session. That's also an exciting workshop that will follow later this year. So our working group in numbers, as you can see, we had this last year, we had 8 work group meetings, of course, hybrid, as I said. We handled 40 maintenance requests. Maintenance request means that there may be a change in the code or some addition or some new message or a question about how can I download something. So a wide variety of requests. We also have task forces. So we held 12 task forces last year, task force meetings. So we have a task force about the 6.1 implementation, about our EASEE-gas implementation, but we are also talking about the gas flow model and about capacity messages. And last year we had more than 30 different companies represented, as you could also see from the picture where all the symbols of the companies were there. So the business processes that the EASEE-gas message format is covering are, some of them are very TSO based, like capacity allocation process, nomination and matching, probably most of you know, and balancing and settlement. But we also have created messages and that of course are used for gas trading and remit and transparency. So part of the remit reporting is also done with EASEE-gas messages. And we also have created a new business process called system operation. And that's what the workshop is today mainly about messages for system operators. But as a trader and shipper, you also need to know what they're able to do or what they're able to send. So especially the storage and LNG system operators. So here you can see the overall goal of our working group. and that means harmonization. So for the mentioned processes on the left side, we are aiming for an harmonized solution with our EASEE-gas messages. So it's EASEE-gas XML following the network code, of course, and we're also combining this with the recommendation of AS4. And on the right side, you can see some of the arguments. If you have harmonized solutions, what it means. So that it fits for these processes, that it's decreasing IT costs, of course, and you also give the small shippers or small BRPs, balance responsible parties, the possibility to challenge the one, because it's of course easier if you're able to use same formats, same protocols, same technology all over Europe. So here you can see our working plan for this year. So what is very important for us is that EASEE-gas as message format needs to be promoted, and we need to create awareness. So one of our topics today is, of course, this workshop, but we will also engage with GSOs and other roles for the existing EASEE-gas markets. We will have a look at the balancing process again this year, but we also have some of these monitoring for the new developments. So we are looking into hydrogen networks. At least we're also looking about the future market design, and there will also be a public consultation done by EASEE-gas after the summer break. We also look into CO2, and yeah, as I already said, future market design, not only for hydrogen, but also for other commodities. There will also be some network code changes this year, so especially CAM-CMP, and we will have a look into these. But what we also always have is the maintenance of the version we have published. In this case, 6.1. So 6.1 is the latest EASEE-gas message format. It was published in February 22, and there are already members exchanging messages in 6.1. So especially in these business processes, nomination matching, and in the general process, but also for partly for OTC gas trading. So that is also implemented, and you can exchange messages between the counterparts. But we also see that there are several phases in the implementation. That means there are processes where it's easier to implement and to change to the recommended version. But of course, there are also some processes where it's not that easy, like balancing and settlement or capacity allocation. But our members are on it, and they're starting, or they're implementing these other processes already. And system operation, of course, there are parts already implemented, but we need to have it implemented, of course, widely used in Europe, and that's why we have this workshop. Generally speaking, you can always contact us for implementation support if you're working on 6.1, or if you're working generally on EASEE-gas messages, or if you want to know something, yeah, please contact us. Yeah, so I would like to hand over to Svetlana now.
Hello.
Sorry, Svetlana, if there are not any questions, so if there are any questions, raise your hand, or we will also monitor the chat. And but if not, I can hand over to Svetlana.
Okay, so my name is Svetlana Pozdisheva. I work for a project team for gas dispatching in LNG. So I've been working in LNG since 2008, so quite a while now. Sorry, I just got confused for a second. So that's all for the presentation of my presentation. Sorry. So Marius, next slide, please. So my intervention here in this workshop is to give some highlights on why storage products are important for shippers or balance responsible parties, the term we are using now. So obviously the picture you see here is not a complete one. I'll only give highlights for short-term activities in particular. So obviously storage products, they vary in design and possibilities, but most of them provide important tool as flexibility to the shippers, flexibility to do portfolio balancing or optimization. So what we're looking into is a quick reaction, for instance, for power plant segment balancing, which is often in use in especially in hourly regimes, a complex shape or a shape within day shape with a lot of variation from 1 hour to another. Storage also allow us to reply to delivery incidents or system shortfalls, all unforeseen events which may happen during the delivery. And obviously, we want benefit with the storage flexibility to optimize our portfolio, but obviously, as a shipper trader, we have to steer our asset in most optimum financially, in most optimum way. So storage is a powerful tool for us, but if you could switch to the next slide here, Marius. But we need a lot of data to be able to manage it efficiently. So here I'll start with the light blue triangle to describe what we need. So first of all, storage products are much more dynamic now, or if before in some quite not that long ago, we would used to have a new storage product in April, maybe one in October, but mostly it was they were happening on the big milestones like a gas year or thermal year. Now storage products are marketed constantly, almost it seems to me they're always participating in some auctions for a new storage product. So the time to market, in order to be able to steer this product or to nominate it has to be shortened. So to do this, we need to implement some automatization in order to introduce contractual constraints and data into our systems. So, for instance, capacities, the eventually scheduled maintenances, the inventory limits, working volumes, all basic data which allow us to use storage correctly. So I put it at the bottom, but it's very important bit. The other bit is obviously for invoicing. We want to make our back offices work easier. So each new product has to be invoiced easily. And one of the ways to do so is provide valuable or correct allocation data. So that's why allocation, provisory or definitives are very important. But as a pinnacle of my triangle, I put everything what relates to actual asset steering on delivery. That means we need data pushed to us as soon as they become available to the storage operator. And these data can be something basic as confirmed quantities, or it can be short-term capacity transactions, which impacts working volume, for instance. It can be provisional allocations for hourly products, injection, withdrawals, inventory. It can be operational daily limits, which if they are provided by the storage operator, if they are obviously relevant to the storage product. It can be guaranteed daily limits. We need to know about variable costs like fuel, gas, or eventually costs in euros. And we're also interested in to get the eventually additional available capacity, like use it or lose it, or use it or buy it, something like that, if it is available. So there are a lot of data. Some of them are used at the beginning to implement the products in our system, but some of them are used in constantly, daily, hourly in our system in order to be able to get the most value of the storage product. And as a foundation of all this, I put the harmonized format communications means, because obviously if these all data are not harmonized and managed managed by each storage operator differently, it becomes an issue for a balance responsible party shipper. It may even, in some cases, hinder access to new products, because if it's too complex to implement, the question might arise: should we do it or not? It's really an important bit of the harmonized formats and communications means for all these data. Marius, next slide, please. So the slide before it was focusing on the what we would like, and these slides, it gives an idea of what we've got today. So there are a lot of communication exists already between the system storage system operator and the shipper or balance responsible party, as is in my slide. We can say that the nomination and matching process is mostly harmonized. So there's no real issue with this. If we did happen at NG, not real storage operator, but virtual storage operator who would use their specific formats. But this, for the moment, these are the exception. But the real storage operators mostly use EASEE-gas for nomination and matching. The situation is slightly more complicated and difficult for shipper with all other data, because here they would have for other operational contractual allocation, we would have EASEE-gas if we are lucky as a shipper. We would have proprietary APIs, which is good but not harmonized. We would have even Excel or CSV files. Again, it is manageable but not harmonized. We at some point we did have to interpret PDF files, which is really not good, because it's in most cases it's a picture. It's difficult to interpret a picture. So this part is for the moment heterogeneous, and this situation require a one-to-one implementation. So in order to get this data, we would develop a specific connector. So it's all cost money. And as I said before, it might even make us think, is it worth it to access a storage product if there's some complexity with the data exchange? So this is the picture we've got today. And Marius, if you could switch to the next slide. This slide is a transitional slide for my colleagues who would follow with the presentation. It gives you an overview of all messages which exist already and who deals with the data exchange I've mentioned before. So we have a nomination and matching, obviously, with the nomin, nombres, and delor, delres. We have already a message called limits, which allows to give information on storage rights and capacities. As I said, implementation of the new products, very good. We also have an invent message, which allows to get real time, well, depends on the product, costly, obviously, our inventory position, so we can always monitor where are we within storage usage. There's a store rec and store con message, which allows to model transaction in storage with of volume or even capacities, something which would be described later by my colleagues. We also have a new message, quite new message, which is allows to the system operator to communicate the flow requirements, like technical minimum, for instance, or the flow to maintain, something which can be relevant to physical steering of the asset. And the last one, not the least, is everything to do with this allocation and settlement is a massive message. So this is all for me. I hope I didn't rush too much, but if you have any questions later, You're welcome. So now, Marius, the floor goes to Catherine, who will detail limits and in limits message.
I am myself, sorry. Good morning, I'm Catherine Gallier. I'm currently in charge of European affairs in Teréga since 3 years. And previously, I have had a long experience within the commercial dispatching of Teréga. So Teréga is one of the 2 French operators. We are both transport and storage operator as in Teréga. We're managing around 33 terawatt of storage capacity. So now you can change the slide, Marius, please. Okay. So I will present now the 2 of the message created by our task force for storage LNG operators. I will dive in detail in the limit and the invent message just listed before by Svetlana. These messages contain information needed for our customer for operational limits and inventory level. From a business perspective, as you know, and as Svetlana just explained, our storage product contract and subscription contains rights and obligation regarding the volume, the injection, and the withdrawal. The 2 first figures of this slide with the blue curves show example of withdrawal and injection rights. The curves may be contractually defined with evolution factors, as in the example, and where the withdrawal or injection rights can depend on the filling level of the storage for a shipper contract. The injection and withdrawal daily rights may also be reduced by operational conditions such as maintenances. In the slide, the last figure in yellow shows an example of the volume storage rights and obligation. This shows limit as maximum and minimum filling level to be respected by our shipper. These limits may also include some specific gates, as in the figure, that are defined for some dates during the gas year. So as a shipper has to respect his volume limits in its information about them, as Svetlana said. Moreover, each day and even during the gas day, this can lead to new limits or new needs for injection and withdrawal in order to respect the minimum and maximum storage level. The storage filling level and associated limit will change daily and even within day, depending on nomination and allocation. So I will now present the 2 messages that allows operators to send up-to-date information to our customers. Please, Marius, can you change? Okay. So this limit message has been created to provide the limit of a shipper for injection, withdrawal, and also for volumes. So I hope this slide is not too complicated. I will explain. So first set of limiters are the nominal injection and withdrawal maximum capacities. It is the maximum capacities of gas that the customer can inject or withdraw. It's equal to the units described under the contract. For example, here it's 200 megawatt per day. So the second bullet point, the daily injection and withdrawal maximum limit, is the quantity of gas that can be injected or withdrawn due to the curve factors. So may depend on the storage level, as it is illustrated in the figure. And this capacity, so use the inventory level of the day. In the example, the withdrawal capacity will be 160 megawatt for the day. Then you have the daily injection and withdrawal maximum operational limit. So here the operational is the keyword. This is the quantity corresponding to the previous daily limit, just explained. That can be eventually reduced by a reduction rate for maintenance purpose, for example, and also can be reduced eventually by the need to respect gate, the storage limit, the storage level limit. So I will speak just in 1 minute about the minimum limit that is in this third bullet point, and also about the guaranteed limit corresponding to the fourth bullet point, but I will just skip now to the last bullet point regarding the storage level limit, which are volume expressed in kilowatt hour. These are the maximum and minimum volume to be respected. It's linked to the volume obligation and rights as presented before. Now, back to the third bullet point, if you can click on the animation, Marius. Okay, thank you. If we zoom on the inventory level position of the shipper, in some cases, the shipper storage level can be too close to a volume limitation. So, for example, in the central figure on this slide, in the case the current storage level is below the volume limit for the end of the day, the message can send a minimum quantity, which is called minimum limit, as the advised injection to be done in order to respect the minimum storage level. Then to finish, the fourth bullet point is specific for daily regime for nomination as used in France. The limit message also allow to send to customer the guaranteed operational injection and withdrawal minimum and maximum limit. This is an updated daily operational limit, which take into account the within day fixed quantity. It is the sum of the confirmed injection or withdrawal quantities for past hours that are now fixed quantity, and the daily injection and withdrawal limit for the remaining hours. So this data for each hour are already fixed quantity for the past hours plus a daily limit for the future hours. We created the limit message to be flexible enough to adapt to different operators' needs and products needs and contract needs. Maybe we forget something, so don't hesitate to ask for it and to come in the group to discuss it. The quantity can be so the message is flexible, so the quantity can be daily or hourly, firm or interruptible, provisional or definitive, depending on the storage inventory level status used for the calculation of the limit. It can be also in debit or credit direction. So more information can be found in our EASEE-gas documentation about this message. So now, Marius, you can skip to the next slide. So this slide is the explanation of the event message. We created it to provide all kind of information about the inventory position. As Svetlana said, the customer will need the information about his volume for the day before and for the current day. If we zoom for the storage curve on my slide, we can see 3 points, blue, green, blue, illustrating the storage level evolution for the 2 gas day, day -1, and within day. The first point is the allocated inventory level for the day before at the end of the gas day. It is the quantity in the storage facility for the shipper. It can have two statuses: provisional if it's calculated the day after the gas day, or definitive if it's calculated the month after. Then the green point is the real-time inventory level. It is calculated within day, and it is the provisional quantity of gas in the storage facility at one time of the day. It is corresponding to within day confirmed the deadline. The data provided is provisional because it's waiting the end of the day to be allocated. The timestamp in the message will indicate the specific time corresponding to the quantity in the storage. Then the last blue point is the projected inventory level. It is also calculated within day, and it is an estimated quantity of the gas in the storage facility at the end of the gas day. So it is the quantity calculated based on the last allocated, the last storage in the last volume in the storage, plus the daily injected or withdrawal confirmed quantity in the nomination process for the gas day. As a reminder, the previous slide limits can be provisional or definitive, depending on the status of the last calculated storage level for the corresponding gas day. So as we are calculating a limit for injection and withdrawal, we use this storage position to calculate it, and the status of the limit can depend of the status of the storage position. To finish, if we zoom again on the same example as the previous slide, the example on the left, it's when it is the example when the storage level at the end of the day is below the minimum storage level. It is the case when the shipper didn't inject enough. So the invent message can also contain an allocated storage overrun or shortfall. These are the quantity of gas that exceed the minimum or maximum storage level limit for one day. So depending on operator's contract, this quantity can be purchased by the operator from the shipper, or in the case of overrun, or can be also sold to the shipper when it is a shortfall. This data provided as allocation can also have the same status, provisional if it's calculated the day after, or definitive if it's calculated the month after. So it's the same as for the storage message. We created this invent message to be flexible enough to adapt to different operators' needs. The quantity can be daily or hourly, provisional, definitive, debit or credit. And if there is another information that we missed by creating the message, it is interesting to know. So now I'll let the floor to my colleague Yanis, who will talk about the transfer message. I will be happy to come back for question, I think, at the end of the presentation. So maybe, I don't know. Thanks for your attention.
Yeah, so just are there any questions already for Catherine? Okay, I see no questions at the moment. So yeah, Yanis, the floor.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Yanis Olems. I'm representing Connexus Baltic Grid, and we are a unified transmission and storage operator here in Latvia. We operate one of the largest underground gas storages in Europe, Intracoastal underground gas storage. And I will talk a little bit more today about messages used for the transfer of the gas or of the rights of use of storage products. So at first, if we look at the main characteristics for storage products, I would say in general we should look for the storage business process in overall. So what we have, we have like for each storage user, we have its allocated storage capacity. Then we have the utilization level or the commodity level, how much storage capacity are utilized at every point in time. Then we have two additional common characteristics of the product. It's withdrawal capacity, how much can you take out the gas from the storage, either on gas day or on gas hour. And also you have an injection capacity to and from a transmission grid. These are very common characteristics for storage business processes. But I would say that in general, there can be also other storage-specific elements, and not always it's possible to say that there are very strict limitations in the way how do the storages operate. There might be different requirements based on the storage type, based on the operations, or maybe local market regulations. But I would say there are some common attributes, and there can be also some differences in the way how do the storage operators operate their facilities. So in this presentation, I will provide examples and use cases for Storic and Stockholm messages, which are generally we are created for to be used for transfer of different types in the storage. Please, next slide. So, as I already mentioned, the main reasoning for these messages is to implement transfers in a common way, and the main necessity is to perform these transactions within storage. And we can also define like three very common or more or less common scenarios. And then, of course, there are all other types of scenarios of transfers or transactions. What we are not going into a deep specific details, but of course, there can be also a different way of transactions. The first and the most common way, what is happening in storages is transfer of commodity or gas inside the storage between two storage participants, so storage users, and there can be also a transfer if there are several products and it's allowed to transfer gas from one product to another. That also can be a transfer between the same market participant or the same storage user and just transferring the gas between different products. Then there is this possibility to transfer capacity. In general, or in the most common scenario, it would include the transfer of storage rights and also withdrawal and injection rights. So very often it's done by a mean of transferring it as a product, or it can be transferred as only these characteristical elements. Then there is, of course, this possibility to organize a little bit more complex scenario when you have transfer of capacity and commodity at the same time. So you can transfer also this rights to use and also transfer with a corresponding volume of the gas. We are calling that in a simplified way, like all or nothing scenario. If there is some shortage, for example, of commodity, this transaction cannot be fulfilled because one of the requirements to fulfill this transaction might be missing. And of course, there can be also more complex or market-specific transactions where there can be, for example, a transfer between different storage facilities, maybe some transfer between some synthetic products or maybe some other types which we cannot imagine today yet. So, and this, as I said, it's products are we treat as a set of rights, which allows storage users to perform certain type of activities at storage or storages. If there are more than one, for example, that might be also the case. The most common type of the product, what most of us are familiar with, are standard mandrel unit, but of course there can be other packed or other set products which are more specific or more corresponding to specific use case. And now we would like to show the general process flow and the solution for this requirement to make this transaction inside the storage. So there are two types of message. One is storage request, which are created by storage users, and storage confirmation message, which are created from a system operator and replied to, in this case, storage users back about informing them about the outcome of their required transaction. Before that, of course, system operator is doing a validation if this transaction can be performed based on rights in the store regulating the use of the specific storage. And the main idea of implementing these messages is to achieve standardized yet flexible messaging solution. There are many cases possible, and I would say there is some cases which we even cannot imagine today. And as Catherine already mentioned, might be that this already created message would need some additional improvements or further developments to fit the general business process even better. But at least this is a very valuable, in our understanding, it's a very valuable first step to achieve the goal of this requirement. Please let's go to the next slide. And at the end of the presentation, I would like to provide the two examples of transaction, what might happen using these two types of messages. And I will start with a more simple example. It's about to perform transfer of commodity. And in this example, we would have two storage users, storage user 1 and storage user 2. We will have also a storage operator, which will receive these messages, perform this matching and perform validation and reply back to storage users afterwards. And we can go to the next slide. The purpose is to perform the transfer of 100 megawatt hour of gas from a storage user 2 to storage user 1. And what will storage users have to do to using these messages? So we need to receive these messages as a storage operator from both storage user 1, for example, confirming their willingness to receive this gas, and for storage user 2 to confirming this transaction that they are going to transfer this gas to storage user 1. Then we will do this validation that this transaction is possible based on the current utilization levels and also the rights for the users. Of course, it might be based on the limits, based on some other requirements which is set up by storage. And after doing that validation, we would perform, in this case, hopefully, we will positively validate and perform this transaction to change the actual utilization or commodity levels for these two storage users. And in that case, withdrawal capacity rights and injection capacity rights stays as they were before the transaction, because the only thing what happened here is this transaction of the commodity or this gas between the two storage users. And after validating this transaction, we as a storage operator will reply to the both storage users back with the token message confirming this transaction done. And that will conclude the transaction successfully, and I would expect that all involved parties would be happy with the outcome. So, but now, after this more simpler example, we would like to provide one possible example of a little bit more complex message. And that would be our second example today, where we will have a transfer of capacity plus commodity at the same time. So this is like a more complex transaction, and there can be a lot of more validations involved in this process, but still the principle will stay the same. So that's the situation before the transaction is the same as in the first example. And if you can move to the next slide, we will have like a requirement or intention from the storage user 2 to transfer this time 100 megawatt hours of capacity and commodity at during the same transaction. And as I said, technically this flow of the process is the same. So we receive once again two requirements or requests from both storage user 1 and storage user 2. We once again validate that this transaction would be possible, taking into account all current situation about utilization levels, about rights, about limits. And we will do once again the validation matching. And also in this case, we assume that everything is correct. We can do this transaction, we can perform this transaction. So we will do that. And in this case, there will be changes not only on the utilization level in the storage for each storage user, but there will be also changes for their withdrawal and injection capacity. There might be also some implications where it's only to one part of this, but it's, as I said, there might be a different local rules, or there might be a different product, and so it's mostly based on the regulations of the storage. But at the end, the process will be the same. Both storage users will receive their approval from the storage operator or confirmation from the storage operator, and we really hope that also in that case, they would be happy with the outcome and happy with the provided services and happy with the convenient way how this can be achieved. So we are looking forward to utilize this even more. And if you see that there should be something else, feel free, join us or just submit your or ask your questions. And I suppose I am now ready to move over to Jeremy. But if you have any questions specifically to this part of the presentation, feel free to ask either now or by raising hand or afterwards during the chat, on the chat or on the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you, Yanis. I don't see a raised hand for the moment, so I will go forward. Hello everyone, my name is Jeremy Duvidas. I'm working for Fluxys for now almost 20 years. Started inside the dispatching as team leader, and then for more than 10 years. And then I'm now leading the team responsible to give support for dispatching, for all the questions related to nomination, flow planning, but also optimization of our installation, implementation of the commercial model, and so on. And that's the reason why why we're also responsible to make the setup of the new ERP inside Fluxys for the three segments we are active in, transmission, storage, and also LNG, which brings me to this part of the workshop, the LNG business processes. Of course, there are some similarity with the storage process for LNG as well. So some of the information that I will give has already been given before by Catherine and Yanis, but still there's some difference. We can distinguish actually two big cases for terminal contracts, and of course always depending on the commercial model of the specific installation, but in all the contracts you will have the volume right, seller price, and obligation with two types. The first one is not really interesting for us. It's when the terminal user has a long-term contract and flat rights over the contractual period, so the rights do not change regularly, so they don't need to receive it by message on an automated way. The second case is much more interesting for us, of course. It's when you see that the rights will evolve with the time, and when the terminal user will receive more rights actually when an operation is on schedule. So when you have a loading or non-loading operation. To illustrate that, I put two figures on the slide with evolution of the storage right of a terminal user at Fluxys. It's not real value, but it's a realistic value. It gives you an idea of the evolution of storage right at the left side, and it changes every hour, basically. So this kind of information is, of course, really interesting to receive it in an automated way, because it's changing all the time. And even the seller price are linked to the fact the operation is on schedule or not. There you can see that it doesn't change that much, but still it's not constant over the time. So for both of those information, it's quite interesting for the terminal user to receive it via message. To do that, we can use the limits message, like the message that is used for storage. The big advantage of this message is that it's very flexible. You can send the volume rights with the limits message, but also the send out or the injection rights. It can be done on a hourly period or a daily period, so it's also possible to choose between both, which is quite convenient because you don't need a new message for different commercial model. It can also be used to give information about interruptible rights or firm rights, so you can also distinguish both inside the message. And at least it can be used for provisional data or definitive one. The second message that we already discussed previously is the invent message that can offer a solution to communicate the inventory level inside the LNG tank. There also, it's something that changes every hour or every day depending on the model and denomination, of course, of the terminal user. It's very crucial information for terminal user to know where he's standing. The invent message, again, is quite flexible because it can give the inventory level, like I said, but also information about potential overrun or shortfall, and even about fuel gas. In some commercial model of terminal activities, some of the gas that you will send out from the terminal will be kept by the terminal operator to compensate the fuel gas used to make the send out possible. This quantity, it's also possible to mention it in the invent message, so that the terminal user has a good view of the quantity which left the inventory. Here again, the message can be can contain hourly figures or daily figures. It can also contain projected figures, so to give an information about what will be the inventory level in the future, depending on the nomination that are already known when we send the message. can contain provisional data and at least definitive data for that. So it's a quite flexible message, like a lot of this message. I think that's one of the most important information of the workshop is that we try to make message that are possible to use for a lot of different commercial models, because we know that almost every terminal operator and storage operator have slightly or not slightly different model to work with. The last message that I want to talk about is the flow rec message, flow request. This also a new message. This one is less used, but in certain installation, we need certain flow rates to ensure the safety of the tanks. So, for instance, for case of Fluxys Belgium, we need a minimum standard at all time at the LNG terminal, just to ensure that the pressure inside the tank will not increase too much, that we can evacuate the boil-off caps. And so we need to communicate this minimum standard to a terminal user, and we can do that with the use of the flow rec message. So that's an easy way to replace email or phone call efficiently. You can also, there are some possible way to do it. You can put a minimum figure or calculate one, or you can put an input or output for the direction. And for the moment, it's only possible with an only figures, because it's strongly linked to the physical need of the installation that needs to be guaranteed every hour, of course. So that was the last message from my side. I think it's also the end of the presentation as such, that we can now move to the Q&A for the moment.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any questions for